having me, Rick James.
Open like a window, no window. Look at the videos, stuff that could be you.
Because they like Sanya On-Air, and everybody on the East Coast calls me Don. I'm like, what is Don?
My mom thought I was on Long Island, but I was at Howard Homecoming.
Ready?
Turn it up.
Let's go.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are now tuned into another amazing edition of Sanya On-Air. And how do I start each and every single show? You guessed it. I have another great show for you. But before I tell you who today's guest is, I need you to do me a quick favor. A few quick favors. I need you to subscribe to every Sanya On-Air, which streams across every major streaming platform. You can find this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, just make sure that you hit the notification button every time I upload an all new celebrity interview. Guess who'll be the first ones to know? You, because you'll hear the little ding, which lets you know an all new Sanya On-Air celebrity interview. Make sure that you leave a comment. Make sure that you repost. And if you repost this, can you tag me too? A lot of you don't know like the inner workings of the underworld called social media, child. It is the underworld of it all. I'm like, it's like the Illuminati. You got to just know passwords and, you know, what to do and what not to do in order to be successful, and who knows who and who knows what. Is tiring, but I'm giving you the formula. Once you repost this content, make sure that you tag me so I can get credit for the engagement levels. Okay. So now that you have done your job, or should I wait another 5 minutes while you subscribe? Make sure you tell your friends too. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, your frenemies. Tell them all, child. Because what we do here on Sanya On-Air is we unpack celebrity pivotal moments and milestones, which brings me to today's guest. I'm excited. I'm excited about this conversation. Now, this guest has been on Sanya On-Air not once, but two times. So today's guest is Shane Johnson. You don't know who Shane? You know who Shane Johnson is. Stop acting like you don't know who Shane Johnson is. Okay, let me call him by the name that you all know. Cooper Saxe from Power Book to Ghost. Cooper Saxe is going to be joining us in just a few short moments. Now, if you haven't been following the Power franchise, let me tell you what Power Book 2 Ghost is about. So, you know, in Power Book 1, Tyreek done killed his father. He done killed his father, child. A lot of slow singing and flower bringing. Killed his father. So anyway, so now Tyreek is the leading character on Power Book 2 Ghost. And as he is navigating his whole new life, you know, just trying to live a clean life, college student, he back selling drugs. Just like his daddy done murdered. Whew. So he's back selling drugs, and he is working for the infamous Tejada family. And the head of the Tejada family is none other than Mary J. Blige, and her character's name is Monet. Mary J. Blige is slaying her character. She really is. But back to Shane Johnson, because that's what the focus of this conversation is about, right? Shane Johnson, a.k.a. Cooper Saxe, he is doing it right. Everyone really knows him by Cooper Saxe. Everyone is hating his character. That's how you know when the character understood the assignment, when you believe that that's actually him and you don't even know his real name and you go by the actor name. So as you know, or if you may not know, so this may be a little spoiler alert for some of you who are late on watching Power Book 2 Ghost, Cooper Saxe gets murdered, allegedly. Now, after Cooper Saxe was murdered on the show, you know, social media, the underworld of it all, because they know everything. Social media is saying that Shane Johnson's character, Cooper Saxe, is not dead. So I'm curious, is Cooper Saxe coming back for season 4? Because we all thought that Lauren was dead and she done popped up. She done swam through the river. and came up alive. When in protective custody, Saxe didn't know that Lauren was alive. Saxe found out. He went to his girlfriend, Jenny. I think she's the DA. That relationship is so toxic. There is so much toxicity on this show, but it is all the ingredients that us fans want to see, because, you know, our lives are just as hectic as it wants to be. I don't know about yours, but I know mine. Thank God, though. I'm not complaining, Jesus. I'm not complaining at all. I'm just talking to the people, okay? Everyone's lives is just so hectic. So it is so refreshing to see someone's lives on television that is equally or even more messed up than yours, right? It just draws us in every single week. So as you know, Power Book 2 Ghost, it was airing every single Friday. Let me tell you something. By the time midnight hit, 11:59, I was standing in front of my TV like 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, all the way down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's coming on. And I was not disappointed. So, you know, you have to give shows time to just get better. Season 3 did it for me. I don't know what Courtney Kemp, the show's writer, is going through, but the way she is putting that pen to the pad, if this doesn't win awards. Now, also, let me tell you about you disloyal fans. You disloyal fans. Now, just to talk about another show, you know, created by 50 Cent, BMF. Now, when BMF is on, you all will throw Power under the rug into the sewer, child. And you just compare the two. And when BMF airs, you're like, oh, BMF is way better than Power. And then when Power airs, you're like, oh, no, Power is better than BMF. I like them both. I like them both. Totally different. But what I do respect about Courtney Kemp, excuse me, Black Queen, excuse me. What I respect about Courtney Kemp is that Power Book 1 and Power Book 2 Ghost, like, it just marries all generations. You know, I think Power Book 2 Ghost, led by the character Tyreek, Michael Delaney, that's his real name. It's more for, you know, the teens, the 20-something, the 30-something, the 40-something, the 50-somethings. We can all relate because, you know, if you are fabulous and 50 like me, I'm not afraid to tell my age, honey. Because mother has lived. Mother has lived. Okay. And I know about those people who are for the streets in my former life. But you know, it's in my current life too, just a little. Associates. Okay. But it is for everyone. So Power Book 1, you know, who starred Omari Hardwick, who played Ghost, you know, that was more for the seasoned veterans. And then Power Book 2 Ghost is like for our children. Let me tell you what Mama done went through. I can't explain it to you. So watch this show. It's like The Babysitter. I don't know. But I love it. I love it. I love it. And like I said, Shane is going to be joining us in just a few short moments. So also make sure that you follow me on social media. I am on Instagram, Sanya_On-Air. And I'm also on TikTok. I like TikTok because TikTok really lets you just be a fool. And I'm just a creative being. And I can turn anything into a moment. See what I just did there? It was a moment. So TikTok really lets you create moments that just lets you be someone who you are, but it allows me to tap into my whimsical, creative, fun, energetic side, put it to music. I love it. I love it. I love it. So make sure that you follow me on TikTok. I'm on TikTok as, I believe, Sanya On-Air. All right. Let me check. Let me check real quick. Let me check the TikTok. It's just so many shows to watch, so much social media. It's just too much for me. Yeah. So I'm on TikTok as Sanya_On-Air. So make sure that you Follow me there. I'll say it again. Make sure you subscribe. And we're going to take a few commercial breaks. And when we return, we'll be joined by Shane Johnson. Let me tell you something. I'm just going to give him an invitation to the barbecue. If you don't think that he should have an invitation to the barbecue, make sure that you write something in the comments so that myself and Shane can see, and I know if I need to rescind the invitation. Okay, because make sure you watch the commercial breaks, because I have amazing merchandise, Sanya On-Air merch. You can locate the merch in the description section of this episode. Just amazing merchandise, the way you can just make a statement. If you're like me, I'm just tired of talking. Don't look like it, right? Because I've always been a talker. Sometimes you just don't want to talk anymore. So I just love to wear clothing that does the talking for you. You know, you walk into a room and they're just like, I like that. Where did you get it? How can I get one? So let your clothing be the statement, and zip it. Shit it up, shit your mouth, and get you some Sanya On-Air merch. Okay? I'll be right back with Sanya On-Air. Stay tuned. Make a statement with the Sanya On-Air Spring Summer Collection with bold statement pieces proclaiming that you are sophisticated, blessed, confident, and your piece is non-negotiable. Order yours today. Sanya On-Air is honored to have Style Esteem as an official show sponsor. Turbans have been adorned across the globe to honor culture, faith, and fashion for over 4,000 years by men and women alike. And yet, every turban is personal because it celebrates the history of the wearer. Style Esteem embodies the time-honored tradition of turbans with fashionable styles for every season and occasion. Created by Sanya Keshwani, a breast cancer survivor, each piece is a one-of-a-kind that celebrates you. Do you work out on the regular? Fuel your cart goals with Instacart, the go-to service for quick delivery straight to your home. Use the special Sanya On-Air link below. Hi, Shane.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm still waking up.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I had to press my alarm like twice. I need about 30 minutes more sleep.
Yeah, but you look gorgeous, and I look like a hot mess. But that's okay.
You know, women always have to look gorgeous. You men can get away with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you know, I just want to get started with it. Let me give you a round of applause because you did what you were supposed to do during this season of Power Book 2 Ghost. So round of applause for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a wild ride for sure. For sure. A lot of mixed emotions this year.
Yeah, sure. I think the mixed emotion was hate and hate. I was like, which character are we going to hate the most? But before we even talk about Power Book 2 Ghost, I just want to remind audiences, you're not new to this. You've been acting since the 90s. Yeah,
well, I mean, you know, I got my start when I started acting like when I was 13, 14. But my first professional gig was in 1996. So it's been going on 30 years here. So
wow,
a long time. Not quite 30 years, but in a few years it'll be 30 years, which is wild because I'm only 26.
Me too.
You know, so
go figure, right?
I know, it's crazy.
First role in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, that was my first paid job. Yeah.
Wow. So when
I was still in college when I did that.
You were in college when you did that?
Yeah. Well, I was studying in London and at a place called Lambda, and which is like a really incredible acting academy where you learn all the, you know, sword fighting and Shakespeare and like historical dance and you learn dialects, and it was great. It was a great experience. But while I was there, they had a poster up on the wall there that was said, you know, they were holding auditions. And if you wanted to submit yourself, you could submit yourself. I didn't even have a headshot. So one of my friends at Lambda she was a, you know, like a her dad was a famous photographer. So she was like, I'll take pictures of you. So she took some pictures, and I sent it in, and they asked me to come in and audition. The thing that's funny about it to me now, looking back on it, is that I remember very distinctly walking down the stairwell and seeing the poster and thinking, that is the stupidest name for a movie. I mean, it just doesn't have like a ring to it that I thought. I mean, now everybody's heard it. Everybody knows Saving Private Ryan. So it's like, yeah. But I was like, Saving Private Ryan. It couldn't be like some kind of, you know, war sound to it. You know, like Thin Red Line came out that same year. Thin Red Line or Platoon or, you know, Death Squad or some kind of cool, you know, Hollywood name. But Saving Private Ryan.
That was it.
I thought it sounded stupid. I was like, well, okay, whatever. So I auditioned for it. I went in and auditioned for it. And then I remember I was so new. I was so green. I don't think I've ever told this story. I just think it's funny. I was so green at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. So I auditioned. And then a few weeks later, school was over. And I was getting ready to come back to the United States. And so I was like, well, did I get the job? I mean, I don't want to leave if I got the job. So I called the office, and which I'm sure is a no-no.
Right.
I called the casting office, and I was like, hey, I auditioned for this thing, and this stupid name called Saving Private Ryan. I don't know if, should I hang around, or how does this work? And they were like, no, go ahead and go back to your life. You dummy, you know? And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then I didn't think much about it. I got on a plane, flew back here. Literally the second I got back into Washington State, I landed. It was like the next day they called me and they said, you have to come back.
No. Did you have money to fly back? I mean, you were only a college student.
I mean, I knew that I was going to have money in a few weeks, but because I was shooting the movie. But that was funny because they were like, you know, you're a local hire. They hired me through British Equity. And so I had to fly myself back. And I was kind of like, you know what? I just asked you guys like 3 days ago, I should stay. And you made fun of me. You thought I was stupid. And anyway, so that was an awesome experience, though. You know, my first movie to work with Spielberg, who was just like such a great dude to me. You know, we had a great conversations, and he was really cool. And it was like, you know, you start at the top, and then I work my way down.
No, you didn't. No, you did not. But, you know, okay, you talked about dialects, and I've just kind of got stuck there. What is your favorite dialect?
Well, you know, it's funny because in my career, I haven't really gotten the opportunity to do it.
I noticed.
And that's true of a lot of Americans, but I would say I like doing Southern. I like English accents. I'm not great at like Irish and Scottish and stuff like that, but those are really fun.
Got it.
Those are probably the most, like, Scottish is probably the most fun. But we did all kinds of dialects, and the thing was I remember they were trying to because most of the people in that class were British, and they were trying to teach them American accents, and the way they were teaching the American accents, I was going like, what? I don't sound like that. They're like, yeah, Americans are nasal. They sound like this, and they speak through their nose, and their R's are really hard. And I was like going, what the hell? Who was teaching? And this guy taught at RADA and Lambda. I mean, he was like, and I remember trying to correct him. I was like, I don't sound like that. And they're like, yes, you do.
You do. You know what, Shane? I remember when I first started doing this whole radio podcast thing, and I didn't realize that I even have a little dialect accent. They automatically knew that I was from Brooklyn from the way I said. I used to say coffee. And they were like, oh my gosh, you must be from Brooklyn or New York. I'm like, yeah. So it made me focus on it a little bit more. So I tried my best to say coffee instead of coffee. So
what's wrong with sounding like you're from Brooklyn? I love it.
I love it too. I never want to lose my Brooklyn accent. As a matter of fact, before you joined the show, I started to, you know, pay homage to Brooklyn by saying, what's up? So house. What's up?
You also said automatically.
Yes. So no matter what I do, this Brooklyn dialect, this Brooklyn accent will never, ever leave me. But I love being able to tap into whatever persona I want to tap into for the day. So
yeah, I understand. The thing that's tricky about, I think the most tricky about, and I know that we're way off topic here. People are like,
it's okay.
what are you guys talking about? But the thing that's most I think tricky about dialects is that people generalize them.
Yeah.
You know, like someone says a Southern accent, you go, all right, so now I'm Southern and I talk like this. And you go, okay, yeah, that might be all right for like one place, right? But you're like, but that's not like South Carolina. They don't talk like that there.
Exactly.
They don't talk like that in Virginia or Atlanta, right. Or even like Florida has some different accents. And then there are some places in Texas, they don't have an accent really at all. It's just kind of, but then you go, you know, you get into, so there are probably, it's almost, the South is like Europe. In the amount of dialects that they have, there's Louisiana.
Okay. I get it.
It just, everybody kind of has their own lilt, and then it's a wide variety. And then you can get up into Boston, which I know is not the South, but then there's like a Boston accent. Then there's just in the United States, I'm saying the United States is like Europe, and that we have just an insane amount of, there's that Fargo sort of thing. Remember that there's like, people go, wait, do people really talk like that? And then in that Minnesota sort of thing where people kind of go like that, and you kind of go, what is that? It's like a Nordic influence or something, you know?
I love the different dialects and accent. And as you were talking, I was wondering, why am I so focused on the dialect and accent? And I remember, I guess I'm traumatized. When I was in college and I took a public speaking and voice and diction class, and I went to present, and my professor, she looked at everyone, and when she got to me, she said, well, your accent and your dialect, you just sound like your parents didn't have any type of formal education. I'm just like, what? And she just stereotyped me. And I think—
Where's this at? Where'd you go to school?
I went to SUNY College at Old Westbury on Long Island.
Sounds like your teacher was an asshole.
Yeah, she was an asshole. But I just thought about it. All of these years, I've been focusing on the way that I talk and the way that I speak, because, you know, people will judge you based upon the way that you speak. I was interviewing a talent, a celebrity. She's from the South, and she was so fearful of doing interviews because of her dialect, and she didn't want people to assume that she didn't have any education. You know, Americans are just so judgmental just based upon the way that you speak and talk.
Oh, and we've gotten worse. I mean, listen, my parents don't have neither one of my parents have formal education. I grew up in a trailer park, you know, in the middle of Washington State, like in the little farm towns. And so, but you know, it's funny, when it comes to casting, none of that matters. All that matters is how you sound and look when you walk in the room, and people make a judgment. Like you talk about judgment, this business that we're in is all about snap judgments of, especially when you're not a star. Like if you're a celebrity, a big star, you can be like, hey, I want to do this part. And people go, really? Okay, well, you know, Tom Cruise wants to do this movie, so I guess we'll let him do it. And so then he can, like, you know, people can stretch. Right. They can stretch their abilities and really show off what they can do. But for like me right now, for the most part, they want what walks in the door. They're like, yes, that guy, he's a dick. And he's he's really educated, which, by the way, I'm not, but that's what I look like, and I sound like that, right? For whatever reason, my voice sounds like, they're like, oh, he went to Harvard or something.
Harvard, right?
I didn't. And I studied theater, you know. It's not like I have some.
All right, engineering major,
right? But I sound like a lawyer or a doctor or someone who's at least arrogant and privileged, and I'm not really any of those things. But so it's just funny. It's like your casting you're kind of stuck with it, and a lot of people fight their casting. A lot of people who are charactery, they want to be leading men, and a lot of leading men want to be character actors. It's like the grass is always greener, and I'm in the middle. I came into this business thinking that I was like kind of hot shit. Because I didn't know any better. Like I told you, I'm from a little farm town, and I was there. I was like the shit. At least I felt that way. I was like, oh yeah. So when I came to LA, I remember thinking like, you just wait. I'm this like gorgeous, you know, dude, like Brad Pitt.
Right. The hair is flowing.
And on top of this, I can act, and I've got this skill set I studied, and I'm gonna blow them away. Nobody gave a shit.
No.
And not only that, I thought I was like a 10, and I came to LA, and they're like, dude, you're like a 7.
on a good day.
I was like, fuck. Really? And they're like, dude. And by the way, it took me about 8 years to figure out that I was a 7, because I kept going, why is nobody?
You were in denial. You thought
I was in denial, and I didn't understand the conversations I would have with. I would go into audition for things, and I remember distinctly, and it was such a memorable thing because I was trying to figure out what the hell she was talking about, and it took me 2 weeks to go, oh my God. It just dawned, because I auditioned for this thing, and the casting director said, hey Shane, just wait a minute, I want to talk to you. And then I was like, okay, that's a good sign, right? And I just met with the producers and the director and her, and it was like down to the wire on this thing. She comes out, she walks me down the hallway. She goes, walk with me. She says, so listen, Shane, I want you to know that you were hands down the best read that we had. Okay. You were the best actor who walked into that room.
But
you're not getting this job. Oh, no. But I wanted you to know that you did a fantastic job.
She could have said that through text.
So I was like, oh, thank you. And then I went away, and I was like, what the hell? and then I found out who got the job.
Who got the job?
I remember asking my girlfriend at the time. I'm not going to say.
Okay.
But I remember asking my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I was like, hey, what do you think of this guy? And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Is he handsome? And she's like, oh, yes.
Another moment, right?
And I was like, oh my God, they hired a much lesser actor who was just great looking.
It happens.
And I was like, okay, now I know how this works. So I went from a 10 to like a 7. And that actually really helped me. That really helped me, because I realized that I wasn't going to get jobs because I was a look. I had to go in and act and then also be the right role. Like, you know, you kind of have to face especially things like the CW and, you know, certain shows when I was younger, they want the most gorgeous thing in the world to walk in the room. And it's like they're hiring models, and their acting is important, but it's not as important as them being 90210 ready.
Yeah. But you know what I heard, Shane, from another actor speaking about what you're talking about, that when you are an actor, they're looking for gorgeous, pretty, handsome actors for television, but looks don't really matter if you're doing film. Did you ever hear about that? And would you agree?
I think it depends on your way into the business. Okay. And what I mean by that is, like, if you were part of like the Scorsese or Coppola crowd that came up doing things like De Niro and Pacino and Christopher Walken and, you know, those guys, they came into the business in a dirty sort of cool cinema, noirish, whatever kind of energy, where this looking like you're from the street and looking like you're legit belong in those environments was more important than the aesthetic of, you know, it's like what you're selling.
Right.
And because in one respect you're selling, what you're talking about is in some respects storytelling is more important, and you're selling reality, a reality of sorts. And then in the other one, it's a little bit more like you're selling the fantasy. And so I'm kind of in the middle. Like if I'm in the fantasy world, I'm like the boss, or now probably like the young dad, like the Bryan Cranston when he was on Malcolm in the Middle. Like that's more, you know, my realm now. But when I was younger, I was not really the fantasy guy. I was always like, because it was weird. My career coming up through my 20s and 30s, early 30s, I was always like a serial killer, a pedophile, I got killed. I was always like the bad guy.
Uh-huh.
Always the bad guy, or I was like the dick who ended up getting killed in the end of the episode, or something like that. I did a lot of that kind of stuff, or I was like a doctor or a young executive.
Okay.
I never was like the college kid, or
right.
And that's what I thought I was going to do when I first got here. I was 22. I was like, oh, I'm going to play all these college kids.
Right, because you're a 10.
But I sounded the exact same, and I talked the exact same as I do now. And people were like, this dude's not in college. And he's also not old. Look, he looks too young to be professional, but he sounds like an asshole. And so we're not going to. So I just was in that weird limbo area for literally probably a decade.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, whatever. You got what you got. You know.
That's true. That's true. So when you were in that limbo, right? What was the biggest lesson that you learned, other than you're not a 10, you might be like a 7 on a good day?
I think the biggest lesson for me as an actor is that I do believe this. I do believe that, you know, we're at a weird time now, where there's this sort of strange mix of celebrity, and then people who are about the craft.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I probably have had a lot less success because I'm not like about the celebrity thing.
Right.
I'm more about, I'm a storyteller. Yeah. I like to be in the trenches. I like to, I mean, hopefully it came across even on Power. Like when I'm working, when I'm in a scene, I'm not like going, what am I wearing? What are my shoes like? What kind of drip do I have? And like, how can I do a behind the scenes post on Instagram afterwards? I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that goes in and go, what is the scene about? Like, how can I make it more interesting? How can I find something that like speaks to what's going on underneath? Like that was always my sort of approach to the game. And so to answer your question, what I learned during that time is that my real passion, you know, this is what I love to do, is acting and writing. And my passion is storytelling. Got it. And so I feel like if you're an actor or an artist of any kind, a writer, doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing, if you're in the arts and you have talent and you focus on developing your talent and your storytelling skill set, eventually you will be successful. Yes. It's just, and because the other thing fades. Yeah. The people that come in, and a lot of times people are like a flash in the pan. They come in, they're hot and heavy. People are like, oh my God, he's gorgeous or she's gorgeous. And they're like on a show that their acting skills are like whatever. They don't work on their acting skills. And then 10 years later, it was like, oh yeah, she's that gal that used to be on that show. Right. You know?
But, you know, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we can definitely see your intentionality and your focus to be a storyteller in your character, Cooper Saxe, on Power Book 2 Ghost. Talk about the evolution of Cooper Saxe, because who Cooper was in season 1 is not who he was in season 3. I saw the Sinister Ride, but talk us through the evolution of Cooper Saxe.
Well, yeah, it only took us 20 minutes to get to the.
It's okay. That was the warm up.
You can edit it later.
It's okay. I'm keeping it all.
So the evolution was incredible. I mean, when I first got the job, I was broke at the time too. I got the job and I wasn't a regular yet. I was a guest star in the beginning, and I had one line in that first episode. One line.
Do you remember the line?
Yeah, it was something like, congrats on the promotion, Valdez, or something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it was just in that conference room. She was getting a promotion, Angela. And I was like, and that was just it. And I was like, well, how would Cooper Saxe that I had in my head, which wasn't realized yet because he didn't exist yet, right? And so I was like, well, what is this guy? How does this guy say this? And what's his intention? Is it like, hey, congrats on the promotion, Valdez? Or is it like, that was my promotion? You don't deserve this shit.
The beginning,
So,
the birth of Cooper Saxe that we know today. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so it started off that whole first season, maybe even the second season, almost. I don't want to say he was two-dimensional, but he had a singular intention. Which was he was a thorn in Angela's side.
Yes.
He wanted the promotion. He was frustrated and enraged that she was the boss and that she was getting the attention. And he knew that he was better, that he deserved this, that he had his privilege from his life, which we find out later, by the way, about his family. And so the expectation of him was really high. And so his expectation of himself was high. And so it was those first few years, it was kind of just being a thorn in her side and being a bit of a putz in that respect. And then it kind of developed more into even more, it got very personal because I started losing people in the office, and it got to where it started to get under my skin, Cooper Saxe's skin, as like there was some vengeance that was starting to build, and some sense of a real sense of need for justice. It's and I think that then evolved into where, once Angela was killed, the guilt that Cooper Saxe, that I put into Cooper Saxe, like he's like, this is my fault. Because I remember very distinctly that they kind of set her up to go out, and they're going to follow her, and they're going to get information because they say, hey, you have 24 hours to get your shit in order, and then we're going to arrest you. And she goes out and gets killed. Yeah. And so I think then season 6 was kind of like, I got to get these guys at all costs. And I also went from being a very straight-laced, by the book sort of justice oriented, the law is going to do it, the law is everything, to moving into the place where season 4, more season 5, and definitely season 6 was like, hey, the justice system doesn't work.
Right. And I am the law.
Yeah. And well, the other thing is the one thing I'll say about Cooper Saxe is he always, and I know that this show is about the bad guys, right? Yes. And so the good guys are actually the bad guys. It's kind of flipped, right? So, in terms of the world, because if you think about it, I posted a picture yesterday, which was kind of wild, because I was just happened to be a photo of a bunch of us that were on the show, buddies hanging out, and all 6 of us are all dead on the show. Yeah. And I was like going, wow, this is weird. and I looked up the body count recently, just because I was curious. I was like, well, and we've people that had names and or characters, over 200 people have died. And yes. And so, it's that kind of a world that we're in. And so, but in this show, that's kind of celebrated, and it's kind of cool. Like, these streets need a body and all that kind of stuff. And so, getting wrapped up in that, Cooper got wrapped up in that and he really wanted that vengeance and building to the point where, when justice just totally is flipped on its head, and he finds himself in a position in season 6 where Tamika, played by Quincy Brown, who's like my favorite person on earth, she's like, you're going to jail. And then I'm like, let me get a gun and go kill her.
but now that you're talking, it does kind of resemble real life, your character and the evolution of Cooper Saxe. It just really seems from what you've told us that Cooper Saxe's evolution is laced in trauma and mourning. You mentioned that he's lost a lot of people. You mentioned that when Angela got the promotion, Cooper's one-liner, you decided to frame it around, I deserve that job. So Cooper just really seems to be driven by trauma and death and taking matters into his own hands. And a lot of people are doing that. I've just come to realize most recently that people who are in mourning are doing things that they wouldn't have normally done on any given day. So Cooper Saxe is kind of like the everyday person who is currently going through mourning and trauma. Would you agree?
I think that there's a lot of that. I think that, and I wasn't the only one that was going through that. Obviously, James St. Patrick was driven by a lot of that too. And that's kind of a common theme in the show. Tariq is driven a lot by his sister's death and then his vengeance with Ray Ray, and that kind of just led him into this world, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, for me, the evolution was a huge jump in the evolution was when Ghost started, because, you know, I had a family now in the beginning, and it was just that one episode, but it framed so much for Cooper Saxe. I feel like a lot of people saw that and they were like, oh my God, I know so much more about this person now. I get so many things about him based on how his position in this family. And then also giving me a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Even though that was, girlfriend's maybe a loose term there, but
yes.
but giving me her, and then giving me my niece, who I kind of was like a bit of a paternal figure for. So those things were like huge leaps in the evolution of Cooper Saxe. And that was just so fun to get to kind of, you know, be more and more three-dimensional over time.
Yeah. Yeah. You were very dimensional. And that's what we loved about your character. It took us a while to understand Cooper Saxe, but once you started unpacking those layers, we were able to understand him a lot better. But we still didn't love Cooper Saxe. We hated to love him and we hated to love him and love to hate him. It was just all over the place. But speaking about your niece on the show, what happened to the character that played your niece?
Well, I think she just kind of went away.
Like in the what was it, the 80s sitcom Family Matters, when the younger daughter went upstairs and she just never came back down. Is that
although the dad from that, is that the show that the dad is showing up everywhere now?
Yes, he's doing commercials now.
He's like the sitcom dad now. Yeah, I think that, you know, that happens. There are characters that you're kind of like, what happened to them? But usually if it's in the Power universe, usually they're like, they're dead. That's what happened. They died, but not my family. They're just off, whatever. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride. I also feel like the relationship with Davis was something that I was still in the middle of kind of finding when I died, really, because that was, to me, one of the most rewarding parts of playing this was working with Method Man. I just love him, and he's just everything that you want Method Man to be. He is, and I have so much affinity for that guy and his work ethic, and he and I getting to kind of go toe to toe and find these, because I feel like the audience sensed it too. I feel like they could sense that there was, that Cooper wanted to be loyal to Davis, and that there was some camaraderie and some kind of brotherhood there. But Davis was kind of really playing fast and loose with the truth, and also getting in bed with kind of like, drug dealers and serial killers, and so it was kind of like, okay, is this what I'm doing now? I'm on this side of it now, where we protect people that are doing really awful things, but I like this guy, and I like the new haircut, and I like the suit, and so it was always fun working with him. And I actually feel like, in my mind, I thought that we had another season of kind of getting into some trouble together.
Yeah. But, you mentioned a few minutes ago the intentionality behind an actor, and that's what makes their work resonate as storytellers. Now, Method Man, he comes from the world of rap, hip hop, that culture. He's now become sort of like this consummate actor. Working closely with him, what did he leave you with that you're now adding to your acting skills?
I think that the thing that Method brings to the table that I am jealous of, and I just don't really have, is he would walk on set and everyone would just light up. Not just because he was there. He brought the energy he brought, like, yo, what's up, everybody? Like, and he'd be rapping, and he'd be like, he knew everybody's names, and he's like, high-fiving everybody, shaking hands, and he's like, and he's just really magnanimous. And and he's not putting it on. That's just who he is.
Yeah.
Like for me to do that, I would be faking it. I'm not that kind of dude. Like I'm really friendly with everybody, but I'm not like, I don't bring in a level of like, who's that guy?
Why don't you try it?
I mean, if I'm in a mood, maybe I could do it, but the reality is that's just who he is. He's just built that way, and he's also Method Man, so he knows that he's a celebrity of a certain stature, that he knows that there are eyes on him anyway. Yeah. And he, as opposed to being like a lot of actors who's like, don't look at me, and like
right,
my moments, and let me get into character. Method is just all about, you know, in between takes with the background, he would be talking to them and like trying out new verses on them and laughing and making jokes and stuff like that. And he's just, he just eats it up. And I'm jealous of that, because it's something that I could add to my repertoire. And I might, you know, one day be at that position where if I'm of that stature, celebrity wise, where people are going like, holy shit, you know, so-and-so just walked on set, and you, instead of going like, don't look at me, you just like open. Because the other thing is it sucks when, because this happens more than not. The other side of it is you have people that aren't like that. You have people that are the leads of shows, or, you know, stars in movies, and they want to be treated a certain way. They don't want to talk to people. They don't want to, you know, they want their food order right now, and it better be right. Right. And I always think it's really interesting when you go from being the guy that just, the first day on set when you first get a job, and we all experience this in our different careers, I think. You just get a new job and you're on set as an actor, and you're like, holy crap, I'm on set. I'm acting right now. This is crazy. I know my lines, and you're practicing your lines, and somebody comes up, hey, Mr. Johnson, can I get you anything? And I'd be like, what? No, like what?
Right, right.
What? Do you want like a Coke or a coffee or anything? And I'd be like, oh, no. Just where is there a place where I can get it myself? And they're like, well, I know I can get it for you. I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. Just tell me where it's at. And you're that guy. Yeah. And then, you know, maybe a few months later, you get a job, and somebody comes up and goes, hey, Mr. Johnson, can I get you a coffee? And you'd be like, God, you know what? That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. Well, how do you take it? Oh, just with, you know, whatever's there, just like some cream. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just whatever's easy. I thank you very much. And then they'll try and take your trash, and you're like, don't take my trash. I can find the trash can. Skip forward to 3 years, and people are like, where the fuck is my coffee?
You're right.
And you're like, how did you forget?
Yeah.
How did you forget where you come from? And so that's been something that's been really important to me too, to remember, if I ever find myself in the position where I am like the top of the game, be the guy that remembers the journey. Yeah. Be the guy that remembers that the person you're talking to is on that same journey. They're just in a different place, you know?
Yeah. Because it's really all about the journey. It's never about the destination. So I'm glad that you put that message out there to always remain humble. But you are in so many households every single week. You know, before I did the opener to this conversation, I was saying that I would wait at 11:59 and I would count down until midnight for Power Book 2 goes to air on Stars. So this is what we just ended season 3, right? For Power Book 2 goes. Yeah. Why did it take 16 months between season 2 and season 3?
Well, I mean, listen, it's interesting because I owe so much to Stars, and I'm so thankful that they were open to me and to bringing me on to this show. That has probably more to do with Courtney and 50, you know, than Stars. But the fact that they signed off on me, I'm very thankful. And Courtney's a genius, and 50, I love 50, but Stars is kind of a hot mess. I feel like they don't. I think when they found themselves in trouble with us was before any of these spinoffs happened, before BMF, before P-Valley was a thing. It was Power. You know, Stars used to be a totally different network.
Right.
they were doing like Da Vinci's Demons and Black Sail.
I didn't even have Stars until these type of shows started airing.
Right. So then in 2014 or whatever it was, Power comes around, and I think that Stars was just taking a shot. They're like, yeah, okay, fine, we'll do Power.
Yeah.
And then it became this phenomenon, right? To the point where they would air for 3 months. And then 9 months later, the next season would air. And what would happen is people would subscribe to Stars for 3 months and then cancel. And right. And so I think Stars is going like, okay, this is not a good business model. You know, we've got to figure out how to maintain this audience. And so that started this sort of weird shuffle, trying to like take breaks in the middle of the season and, you know, try to add other content. And then I think the spinoffs helped in that respect, because they're going, oh, okay, well, you'll have Raising Kanan for 3 months, and then we'll have Ghost for 3 months, and then we'll have Force for 3 months. And then the idea was we would have Influence, which would be the Rashad Tate spinoff. That would be, so we would have Power year round. So no one would cancel, you know. I think that was kind of the
intentionality.
Yeah, and that's why BMF and some of these other shows are, you know, there as well, really. And so I think that started a really weird shuffle. Like, I can't believe that Force isn't starting until September. I feel like Force was out. Force was out, what, a year and a half ago?
Yes. Yes.
And they're not starting to film, I don't think, until next year, the next season. And it's kind of like, come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. So as an actor, are you fearful that you will lose your audience? Because, you know, the attention span of people nowadays, they want it now, they want it now, they want it now. We don't want to wait 16 months. We don't want to wait 3 years. Were you fearful that you would lose your audience? Yeah,
very much so. Very much so. I mean, listen, I also thought when we were doing a Tariq spinoff, I was like going, thank you, Courtney, for putting me on the show. Amazing. Yeah. But I was also like, who the hell wants to watch a Tariq spinoff? People hated Tariq. You think people hated Cooper Saxe? People hated Tariq.
They did. They hated him to the point where they thought Tyreek was a real person. And I was even fearful for Michael to walk down the street as his real self, because I was like, people are gunning for his life. They took that seriously, but I was so amazed to see them kind of hold on to Power Book 2 Ghost and really, really just ride with Tyreek throughout this entire franchise. Because once again, the villain is always loved. Always, always. I don't know why, but you know, even when it comes to women, they always say women love the bad boys. So that's why it worked.
I know. Listen, and that's all Courtney. Season 6, she started shifting Tariq to a point where by the end of season 6, the audience, even though they may have not liked it, they got it. They were like, I know why this kid had to do what he did. Like he's becoming like Ghost, right? He had to do this for his own. I mean, his dad basically was going, hey, I think you should take the rap for this and go to jail. And, you know, and Tariq's going, what? Right. You got us into this. You broke up our family. You've ruined everything. And so I think by the end of it, you're kind of like, by the first episode of Ghost, it's funny. The audience went from, I hate this guy, to like, oh my God, Tariq's the best. Okay. Okay. But that just shows you how important writing is, and how, by the way, it's funny to me that almost every episode, it's like, you know, like a skier going downhill where you're going like, well, we love him, and the next episode we hate him. And I'm not talking about Tariq, but like Braden. He does something and people are like, wait a second, is he about to be disloyal? We hate you. What are you doing? We got to kill you. Same with Latoya, or not Latoya, but Diana. You know, they were like, oh, what is she doing? She's about to rat somebody out. So we hate her. She's got to die. She needs to, you know, be in a bag, whatever. And then the next week they'd be like, oh, she was just playing. Actually, she held it down. She held it down. We love you. We fuck with her. And it's like, wow, it's just the story. The writers are just making, you know, it's just back and forth and back and forth. And they just go from loving to hating. Same with my character. There are weeks where they're like, all right, Saxe is pulling it together. He's doing it. And then the next week they'd be like, oh man, come on.
Back in the bullshit, But it is a perfect Molotov cocktail of antagonists. I never thought that it would work, but I do love it. And the writing, going back to the writing, it does seem as if Courtney gives us first, okay, let me take you on this roller coaster ride. Let me take you to the peak. Okay, let me bring it down. Okay, let me bring it back up. So we are really going through the gamut of emotions. And I think that that is the testimony of a good story, good writers, good actors. But were you given the script before you started filming and you knew that your character was going to die, or did you know like midway through?
No, I knew. I found out. I kind of sussed it out myself.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually was. If I'm being honest, if I'm being honest here, this is a little dirt.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I thought I should have been told. At the beginning of the season. Just because, I mean, and I understand why they don't, because historically there have been times where an actor finds out that they're getting killed off the show or whatever, and it affects their performance, it affects their headspace, their attitude or whatever. But I'm a professional, and I've been doing this job with this show for a decade. Mm-hmm. And so to give me like 2 weeks notice, to give me 2 weeks notice after 10 years is, to me, was like really disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that. I'm saying it here for the first time, but I felt like, you know, you guys can tell that I'm a professional. Mm-hmm. And not you guys, but I'm saying that the team. And I'd also been told something else. Mm. I've been told like, hey, this is what you're doing this season, and then this is what you're doing next season. And then all of a sudden around episode 5, I'm going, this is not what we had talked about at all.
Wow.
And so I took somebody aside and I was like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why is Cooper Saxe not Cooper Saxe anymore? Like, when did he start becoming stupid? Because everything I did this last season, I was like, no way, no. Cooper's smarter than this.
Right. Right.
He doesn't get himself backed into corners like this without an exit strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He just doesn't do this. And instead, it was like I was in a beeline for a bullet. It was like I was hungry to die, and I was going, what's happening here? Mm-hmm. And so then I was told, like, that's when I found out. They're like, yeah, you're not making it out of the season. Oh, wow. And I was like, what? And I'm like,
when you found out, did that change the way that you went into character as Cooper Saxe?
No, not at all.
Because your professionalism always maintains itself.
No, because at the end of the day, that's their prerogative. I mean, listen, mm-hmm. It's their prerogative to write whatever they're going to write. And I'm gonna do my best with the material that's in front of me. That's always my approach. The writers are geniuses until proven otherwise, right? That's what Richard Lawson, my mentor, tells me, and I believe it. Which is, you know, it's my job to interpret what's on the page. Mm-hmm. But business wise and humanity wise, like, talk to me.
Right.
Let me know what's happening. Don't spring it on me and go like, oh yeah, next week you're dying.
Yeah.
After a decade, and also being like between me and Tariq, we're really the only two OGs on the show.
Yeah.
And so, and I also felt like, if I'm being honest, I mean, why not? It was ridiculous to me that Method Man's brother, who just showed up, killed me. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Really, this is the way I'm going to go out? But again, that's like the writer's prerogative. But I was like, guys, because in my mind, I was like, this is a huge death mm-hmm. in this world. So it should have a real big payoff. And then people go, well, yeah, but what about the letters and stuff? And I'm going, okay, the letters are like, fine. But that's not me. That's not seeing Cooper Saxe backed into a corner in some way. He can't get out of it. He's facing down Tommy or Tariq or Tasha.
Right.
And then he finds himself, you know, caught up, and he dies then in some dramatic way that then has a ripple effect. This was like, no, we're going to have a guy that's kind of irrelevant kill you, and then he's going to kill himself so that this case is closed, mm-hmm. and we just move on.
Right.
And then I saw some people would write online. They go, oh yeah, well, there's just too many storylines. I'm going, bullshit.
Yeah.
My storyline goes all the way back to the first
beginning. Episode. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's not the way you end that, guy.
No, we were definitely surprised. So let me ask you, because I watched another podcast, love this podcast, Drink Champs, by hip hop legend Nori, and he has a question for all of his guests. Which would you prefer, loyalty or respect? Because I'm connecting it back to you finding out that your character Cooper Saxe was going to be killed within 2 weeks. So would you have preferred them to be loyal to you and told you in the beginning, or respectful to you and just told you in 2 weeks and that was that? What do you prefer, loyalty or respect?
Well, I think that and that's part of it, as I felt like if they respected me, they would have made me a part of it. Mm-hmm. They would have said, hey, this is coming down the pike. This is how it's going to happen. So let's design this, this season in such a way that's the target. And that would have been a little bit of a different journey. And I wouldn't have approached anything too differently, but it would have made me think a little bit more about scenes and relationships, and things wouldn't just have been, I wouldn't have necessarily changed my performance.
Right.
But it's different when you find, like I said, you find out that he's just doing things that, and listen, people by episode 3, they were going why is he so messy? Why are you doing this and that? And I'm going, yeah, I agree. And so I feel like and I could be wrong here, this is just my opinion, I just felt like, being that I had been a part of this thing for so long, if it was season 2 of Power, they don't owe me that. I don't feel like they owe me that. It's like the show's just kind of getting going, even season 3. Mm-hmm. But when you've been a part of a show for a decade,
I
mean, literally 10 years, I feel like it's kind of like going, hey, we're parting ways with you.
Right.
In a way, it feels like, and part of it too is, I guess, probably my hurt feelings, because I feel like I was fired, basically, and everybody probably feels that way. It's basically, they're like, yeah, we're done doing business with you. And so I feel like I mean, I don't know how to answer that in terms of the loyal versus respect, because to me, they're kind of in the same ballpark. I feel like if they were, if you're talking about a person, would you rather have loyalty or respect? I would probably say, I don't think you can have real loyalty without respect.
Yeah. I always say the same thing. It's difficult for me to answer that question, but as you were talking, it really seems in that moment, you would have preferred them to be loyal to you because you've been there for 10 years. You were there season 1, episode 1, the evolution of your character. People have really come to want to see you in Power Book 2 Ghost, to the point where when you were killed on the show, social media went crazy and they were saying, no, that's not true. He's not dead. He's going to come back for the next season. So are they correct that you'll be coming back, or no? Is this true that you will no longer be on the show?
No, I'm dead. I'm done.
Oh shit.
And I also want to say too that I want to very clearly state this.
Okay.
This whole discussion has nothing to do with Courtney.
Of course not.
Because Courtney's she doesn't have anything to do with the show anymore. And in that respect, she doesn't run the show. She ran the first 8 seasons.
Okay.
There's somebody new running the show now because she has her deal over at Netflix. And so it's a different showrunner. And in fairness to him, who I like, who we had a good relationship, I don't know that he got the weight of what he had in his hands, of what he was doing. So he took over the show and immediately decided, I guess, to kill me off. And that just felt like, well, why do you? And I also feel like a lot of the things I was doing this season were kind of out of character for Cooper Saxe. And so I was like, this guy, I felt like, does he not know this character?
Yeah.
Or does he not? or does he have a different take on this character, which is really not what I have seen for the last 9 years, you know? And so, and that's his prerogative. So in all fairness to him, he can do whatever he wants. It's his show now.
Right.
But I was just wanted to clarify that that was not the reality with Courtney. We were going a very different direction with stuff. And if she was still a part of the show, I think I would still be a part of the show too. Got it.
You know, that also happens in real life. You work for a major company, organization. Once they change leadership, sometimes they bring their own people. They get rid of people who've been there for years. So people really need to understand that this entertainment world, you know, nothing is promised. You can have a role for so many years and then it can be gone tomorrow. So what's next for you now that you will no longer be Cooper Saxe on Power Book 2 Ghost?
Well, yeah. Well, now we're in the middle of a writer's strike, but
true.
But and probably the actors will be striking pretty soon, and the directors as well. But I've gone on to do a bunch of other stuff. I've done Chicago PD and SWAT and Blue Bloods and a show called Them, which is on Amazon Prime. Did some of the season 2 of that, and I've got a movie that I shot down in Atlanta, which was awesome. And so I've been, I'm just doing other stuff, and it's been actually really rewarding, because during Power, it was kind of hard to do other things during that time for me. And so, because I have a family and I live in LA and I was back and forth. And so during hiatus, I was kind of like locked down with the fam. And so now I feel like I'm actually very thankful to be on the other side of the show now, because I feel like I can kind of, it's weird. It was like 10 years. I started when I was like, I'm 47 now, so I started, I was 36, 37. And so it's like, oh, I'm a different actor now than I was back then. I look different. I act a little bit differently, and I'm in a different category now a little bit. So it's been great. And and I'm finding my footing again, and looking forward to other opportunities and to playing. I'd like to play something that's a little bit different, I get that I can always be the privileged white, prick sort of thing, because that's on the nose and easy, but it's fun to play some more, challenging, different type of character that maybe has some other things going on. Yeah.
I want to see you as a superhero.
Me too. Me too.
I can see that,
like on The Boys.
Like a who?
Like on The Boys. I don't know if you watched it.
Yes. I can definitely see that. But you can get back to your family. Before I even started this conversation, my daughter was here and she said, he's married? And I said, yeah, he's married. And she was like, I can't believe that asshole is married. I said, well, that's Cooper Saxe. This is Shane Johnson. So, in alignment with Shane Johnson, I definitely want people to get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to close this out with a little game. This game is called This or That. So you have to choose one, okay? Because we want to get to know Shane Johnson a little bit better. TV or film?
Film.
Got it. Early riser or late sleeper?
Early riser.
Got it. Are you just saying that?
Well, I go to bed really late too. So it's like I go to bed late and I get up early. So I'm just like, I don't get enough sleep, basically.
Got it. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
I can see that, because when you talked about Method Man and him just coming on set with a whole bunch of energy and you wanting to tap into that, I can definitely tell that you mean. I'm an introvert.
What?
I'm an introvert as well, but people don't believe me because I push past it because I know that I have a job to do, but I'm really an introvert.
Yeah, and I think that that's the same thing for me. I push past it and I can be, outgoing and stuff like that. But I think really when I'm by myself, I'm quiet and stuff like that. The type of personality I am, it's like I like my alone time. I like my introspection.
Yeah.
And I don't need to have noise and people around.
No. At the end of every night, I go for a reflection walk that lasts for about an hour. Nothing but silence, just me and the universe, just alone. And that is the best part of my day, just being alone.
Right.
Get it. Saver or spender?
Saver.
Got it. Quiet time at home or out for the night?
Quiet time at home.
Got it. Podcast or radio?
I'm getting more into podcasts now. So I would say right now I'm kind of 50-50, but I listen to more podcasts now. I never used to.
I know.
I never used to. And as a matter of fact, I was like, what are these people doing?
The podcast world is taking over. I started off in radio, and then this was about 15 years ago. And someone approached me, the show's owner, the station's owner, and they said, okay, we want to start podcasting. Would you mind leading that? I was like, no one knows about podcasting. I've been doing this, Shane, for over 10 years. Before people, everyone and their mama started podcasting. So I'm glad that you are a podcasting fan. The final question, Power or Power Book 2 Ghost?
I can't really answer that. Because the reality is as we owe everything to Power. We owe everything to Power, and that's where the foundation lives. Cooper Saxe got to do more fun things in Ghost. So, for me personally, I feel like I got to take such a leap in regards to my character in Power Book 2.
Yes,
that was more rewarding for me as an actor, which is partially why I'm probably a little bit bitter about getting off the show, because I thought there was more to develop for a while before leaving. But and I said this before, and it's true. The reality is the reason it hurts so much is because it was so sweet. It was just sweet. It was like something that I really enjoyed doing, and so to have it gone is kind of like, wow, I can't believe that it's over. It's sort of it's like leaving a job after 10 years. It's exactly what it is. And you're kind of like, wow, okay, I guess I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, move on already. I go, yeah, but when you think about a chapter of your life, it's almost like, even college, like you finish college and you're like, okay, what now?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I get it. It's like, being married and all of a sudden your significant other comes to you and just says, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. And you're like, wait a minute, we've been together for this long. I didn't see any warning signs and you're just telling me this. So I totally understand it. But what I'm a firm believer of, Shane, is that whatever the universe takes away, it will also replace it with something else. Because you are such an amazing actor and we stayed glued to the television for all of these years, watching the evolution of your character, Cooper Saxe, I know that where you are going to land next is going to be even bigger than the role of Cooper Saxe. So myself, as a fan, I wish you continued success. And make sure, where can my audience follow you on your Instagram so that we can watch you land on your next role?
Well, it's Shane_M_Johnson. But I think if you just type in Shane Johnson, it'll probably show up. Same on Twitter. I'm trying to figure out TikTok, but I don't really like it very much.
You don't? I'm on TikTok. The kids got me involved in TikTok and I love it. It's therapy for me, Shane. So try it, because you could just be such a character and not be judged for it because everyone on TikTok is such characters. So try it.
Yeah, try it. You'll like it.
That brought me back to my childhood with my parents used to try to convince me to eat like vegetables. Yeah. No, I don't want to try. Well, Shane, thank you so much for this conversation. You are absolutely amazing.
Thank you. This was a blast. Thank you. And I divulged some things I probably shouldn't have, but hey.
Hey, why not? Sanya On-Air is a safe place for you, and we honor people like you, Shane. So continue blessings. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So there you have it. A amazing conversation with Shane Johnson, who plays Cooper Saxe on Power Book 1 and Power Book 2 Ghost. Let me tell you something. I did my research prior to this conversation, and the internet still goes undefeated. The internet has all of these type of rumors that the character Cooper Saxe did not die. Even though we saw him on the at the morgue laying on the table like this. People are still like, he is not dead. I guess it's because we love his character, Cooper Saxe, so much that we don't even want to believe that he is dead, even though we saw him lying in the morgue dead. I'm telling you, the fantasies that people create just to make them feel better about the absolute truth. So we have to accept that Cooper Saxe will no longer be on Ghost Book 2, Power Book 2 Ghost. But what I didn't know, and I'm glad that he divulged this, nothing lasts forever. Rude awakening, people, nothing lasts forever. You would think that there would be some sense of loyalty to Shane Johnson because he has been on the show since season 1, episode 1, the beginning of this franchise of Power Books. You would think that there would be some loyalty, but Courtney Kemp, she left. You know, she signed this big, humongous deal with Netflix. So they brought in another showrunner who was not with it, child. He said, you know what? There's a new boss in town and I'm getting rid of a few folks. I'm changing storylines because it really threw us for a loop that the character played, well, Davis, played by Method Man, Davis's brother, who they got out of incarceration, killed Cooper Saxe. It really was left field, but I kind of get it. You know, Davis was going to kill Cooper Saxe, and the brother was just, Davis's brother was so connected to his brother, who don't love their brother. I love my brother. You know, the siblings were so connected that the brother said, you know what? I'll risk it all for you. I'll kill him so that you don't have to. So I get it, but no loyalty, honey. No loyalty. What do you prefer? Loyalty or respect? For me, for the past couple of years, considering everything that I've been going through, and I'll divulge that hopefully pretty soon. I've been going through something for the past, I would say, 2 years. Like I said, I'll divulge that. But for me, over the past 2 years, loyalty means everything, because I'm finding out that these hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. They ain't, child. They will leave you on any day, ending with the letter Y. So for me, loyalty means everything. So this has been another amazing edition of Sanya On Air. Make sure that you subscribe. Sanya On Air streams across every major streaming platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you hit the notification button. Also, make sure that you purchase your lovely turban from Esteem. I'm going to have their contact information or their Instagram page in the description section of this episode so that you can just do the shopping yourself. And while you're shopping, make sure that you get your Sanya On Air merchandise. I have coffee. I have coffee mugs. If you were watching this entire episode, you know why I didn't say coffee and I said coffee. I have amazing t-shirts that just have these amazing slogans on them. Positive affirmations. This is what we need, because I'm tired. I'm tired of the negativity. I'm tired of the toxicity. I just want to spread positivity, love, sunshine, humility, compassion, you name it, all of that. I want it. And you can have it too by purchasing your Sanya On Air apparel. So that's it for me, Shane Johnson. Once again, thank you so much. Make sure that you follow him, because we want to make sure that wherever he lands, that we are going to continue supporting him. Don't just fall in love with Cooper Saxe, child. Fall in love with Shane Johnson. Follow him on social media and make sure that whatever film he's in, that you go see it. Whatever television show that he is on, that you are also watching it while you're watching Sanya On Air. Take care, dolls. Smooches. Mwah.